Hey everybody, welcome to the first Many Markets video. You can refer to me as T, and we are going to start with the chip that I went over on my short. We're going to talk about computer chips for a second, and then we're going to talk about sort of more global markets in general. But I am going to start with this because it just seems like an interesting future market. This right here is some computer chip that Intel makes. And when I last did a video, I think it was a couple months ago or a few months ago, this was 2,900. So I'm trying to, whoops, that was the wrong thing. I'm trying to figure out, what is the gain on that. If you were to buy it at that price and sell at that thing at this price now. This is going to be kind of an awkward and slow video. I am used to streaming. So if that is not your vibe, I suggest you find another video. And yeah, I hope you like and subscribe so that I can get to 50 subs so that I can do what I'm best at. All right, here we go. So let's say it was 2,900. So let's go, 3,800 over 2,900. All right, so that's a 31% gain in a few months. That's like an amazing return. I don't know, we're not going to dig into this too much. I just think the market for computer chips, specifically processors, is interesting in graphics cards. And then I thought quickly we'll go over this most expensive chips in the world. These are more, I just found this site, and this is a $700,000 chip, I guess. And so maybe these are more like, business to business things, so it's not as open markets, but I just sort of wanted to highlight that this is a thing. I don't really know anything about it yet. It's not really my focus, but just wanted to bring that to people's attention. All right, now we're going to move on to, just for the record, it is September 25th. You can see right here in the top. And we are going to move on to more general markets. Crypto, we're really only going to look at Bitcoin here. It's at 111,000. Bitcoin is an interesting market to follow. I think mostly because to me it seems like the most open, assuming that you have an internet connection and maybe some basic hardware, it is the most open market in the world. That is what it seems like to me. Yahoo Finance, in my experience, is just, I don't know, it's what I've gone to search for, like, if you're going to search for specific companies and sort of do analysis on that. That's what I like. I don't know if we're going to talk about Bitcoin anymore. I'm just doing a quick overview of all these, and then maybe we'll dig in if I see something interesting specific. But because this is the first video in this series, I thought it would be good to just like sort of lay the groundwork for where I'm starting at. Like when I look at these things. This is not TradingEconomics.com, also a new thing for me. If you know a better one, please recommend. I think CNN used to do like a commodities thing. I like the way they broke it down. It was just like, they had some like energy stuff, and then they had some like, like wheat and hogs and stuff like that. So what I'm looking at here is I'm trying to look at the year-to-date percentages. That's kind of like, I think it gives you a good idea of like what's kind of going on in the world, and you can dissect what's going on. I guess we could do wallstreetjournal.com too, and in the past that's been pay guarded and I don't care for it anymore. At least not, I don't stay up to date with the Wall Street Journal. I still enjoy it as a read. But so let's see here. So the first things I see that are interesting is year-to-date TTF gas and UK gas. I don't know what this is exactly, but I am going to assume it has something to do with, it kind of just has to do with the geopolitics of what's going on right now. Like potentially war, but probably like tariffs and whatever. So natural gas. So yeah, so my understanding of the natural gas thing is like, I don't really know. Natural gas for Western Europe, I think they mostly depend on Russia for natural gas, and they depend on us for natural gas. At least that's been the history. So I'd imagine this is a war. This what's the word I'm looking for? Volatility. I guess volatility is 1 year volatility is for war, is because of war stuff. That's my guess. I imagine this one's the same. One's EU, right? That's one EU and one's the UK. So these are separate tickers, or I don't know what is this? What are we looking at here in trade and economics? UK natural gas. I don't know if I'm really going to dig into that right now, actually. All right. And then what else is interesting? Germany natural gas also down. Okay, so this is what I look for if I'm like trying to sort of lazy buy securities or just assets in general. I'm basically looking for big changes, right? I want things that like either big changes or things that are like just deeply underpriced in general. 10% for crude oil, like crude oil is like, I guess we're talking about energy. This is all energy actually. I wonder if we can look at like other things here. Let's see. Oh wait, here's metals down here. Okay, great. Sorry. Like I said, new to the site. Wow, gold's up 42%, silver, interesting. So these are up a ton. On the year, platinum 70%. Platinum is actually a metal that I find very interesting. I can go into that in future videos, but of all these, I think to me, and knowing some about sort of what things are used for, but not a ton, platinum is very interesting, and I'm not sure, maybe titanium is also interesting. The other ones aren't particularly interesting. Looking at these commodities, cheese is way down. I wonder why. Orange juice way down. I wonder why. And coffee is way up. So these commodities markets are I think really interesting, but I clearly don't think they're that interesting because I never tune into them. But like you can see, some of these are incredibly volatile, which if you like to trade is usually like interesting. I don't trade that heavily. I think it's important to like pay attention to stuff and, be aware of like climate and how to invest in stuff, but I don't trade a ton currently. Potatoes down 70%. What is this? Okay, these are European. Is this EUR? I'd imagine per 100 kilograms is down 70%. So this means something different too. 100 kilograms is like a specific broker, right? Like maybe that's someone buys to a grocery store. I don't know, but this isn't 1,000 kilograms. That's going to change the infrastructure underlying the stock. I would imagine that's what this is. That's, like I said, this is all just quick look, but stat, and then industrial. Okay. All right. So cobalt gets put into batteries. Aluminum gets put into so many things. I don't really know what lead gets put into. Bullets, maybe. Zinc, also batteries. Nickel, batteries. Let's see. Year over year. Cobalt's way up. That makes sense. Battery stuff. Cobalt's also, if I'm remembering right, let's see. Cobalt is a very small... there's not a lot. It's hard to mine. It's hard to get, right? There's a lot of these are, what are they called? Like, or rare earth metals or whatever. Palladium. I think this also goes into batteries, or like, it's a big one. Rhodium. So these ones that are sort of, that I recognize are expected. Polyethylene. I'm not sure. This might be plastics. It might go into plastics manufacturing and production. Polypropylene is basically plastics, and that's down. So that's interesting. Yeah, these are... Just reading this stuff, I feel like helps you understand, like can sort of put like, oh, maybe there's less plastic in the world right now. Maybe that's a jump, but sometimes it be like that. Gallium. I have no idea what gallium is. Let's look this up. It's the other thing. You just learn random stuff. So I want to know about gallium because I see it has a huge shift. And it's just something I don't know what it is. So it's like, I don't know, maybe it's this tiny thing and it's not that big of a market. It's still interesting. Let's look at applications. Okay. Semiconductors. Is it mostly semiconductors? So this is way down, right? So this might be some specialty metal. And so my guess is like, okay, why is this market down? Like, first guess without doing anything, any research whatsoever, like, what if I'm imagining they replace gallium with some other thing in semiconductor manufacturing plants? So like basically the supply chain changed from gallium to, like, let's say, I have no idea, maybe it changed to diammonium. And so, right, like diammonium took a bunch of that market share, because things are manufactured differently now. We're spending a lot of time on commodities, I guess. I don't know. It's just, this is a big, it's, as you can see, it's sort of a big sector, and it's also interesting because it's simple. So feeder cattle, I don't know the difference between all these. I don't know what a feeder cattle, what's the difference between feeder cattle and live cattle? Cattle is an interesting market between feeder cattle and live cattle. Feeder cattle is called store cattle, or young cattle mature enough either to undergo backgrounding or to be fattened in preparation for slaughter. Okay, so feeder cattle are way up, and I don't know why. Like maybe there's just fewer feeder cattle. That's why it's way up. I don't understand this market. I don't understand livestock markets, and I in general don't touch them. But yeah, that's an interesting thing to dig into. And then these are indices. All right, we don't care about indices. Electricity. Spain year-over-year electricity market is way up. That's, 228%. What's going on there? Spain electricity production 2025. Let's see what's going on. Annual growth. None of this looks. Wow. Okay. In June 2025, renewable sources contributed 54%, totaling 12,000 gigawatt hours, with total photovoltaic being the leading technology at 26% of production. I'm confused. Is Spain 54% reliant on renewables? Is that like, where are the sources here? Where are the sources? I can't even click on sources. Maybe those are the sources. I would want to look at the sources, but if that's true, like, that's an incredible amount that's on renewables. To me, that just seems like huge. So, hence, this is people betting on that renewables are, maybe this is people betting that renewables are going to play a lot of long-term value. Okay, so that's commodities. Let's be done with that. Wow, that was a lot of commodities. I was not expecting that. All right, let's talk about specific stocks. Well, maybe we should just talk about the 500 biggest stocks first. We'll start with this. 500 biggest stocks by market cap. I'm typing this in weird because I'm thinking weird because I'm trying to move quickly so that I can get as much information to you in as short a time as possible. Broadcom does stuff with chips, computer chips. If you don't know these other companies, look them up. But this is one that I think it's probably not in the news a lot, but the fact that it's like, what is this? What is this? Up this over year. Like, yeah, it's up 94% on the year because people ignored it. It hasn't been in the news, and like, it's essential to, like, they make circuits and stuff or something along those lines. Like if you see a computer chip, there will likely be a word Broadcom written on it. Maybe not all chips, but a lot. Yeah, what else? What else is underspoken about? I don't think Oracle's really spoken about a lot. I think it's because it's a lot of sort of, I think they have a lot of government contracts. I could be wrong. Walmart, Tencent, Visa, Eli Lilly. Eli Lilly is luxury goods. the CEO or founder of this company is one of the wealthiest like people in the world, usually like top 10 or something. Yeah, I'm just talking about the ones that we wouldn't know. Like you probably should know, y'all should probably know Tencent, like it's a Chinese holding company, and like Walmart, like, but ones that are less talked about, I think it's interesting to talk about. Wow, Palantir is 21. That is nuts. Palantir, I'm not going to try and explain Palantir. Look into it. What else? What else stands here? Maybe we'll go to the top. We'll go to top 30. I think top 30 is a good thing. All right, P&G, Procter & Gamble, they make soap and stuff. You know, they make consumer products. ASML, I don't know what ASML is. I don't know what AbbVie is. I want to know what things are in the top 30. I think it's just helpful for getting a broad view of what's going on. Every other single company here, I know what they do, generally speaking. And I could rattle them off if you wanted me to. So let me know in the comments if you want me to do that in another video. ASML. All right, what is this company? Is there like a... I guess we could do the annual reports. Because won't it say at the top of the annual report? I'm trying to remember. View annual report 2024. Let's do that. Companies. Yeah, okay, microchips. I think, yeah, so they have some... The Netherlands is a very tech-forward society, is my understanding, especially in farming, apparently. Apparently it's a very flat country. Anyway, okay, microchips. That's enough for me right now. I think I might have known that, but I forgot. Let's see what AbbVie is. Where is this? Pharmaceuticals, United States Biotech. Oh, it says right here. Okay, I don't care about that. We're not gonna look into pharmaceuticals here. If you're interested in that type of stuff. I think Martin Shkreli streams and talks about pharmaceuticals sometime. And then Broadcom, I don't know why I have Broadcom up here. Semiconductors. Okay, great. That takes care of like what's going on in general. We'll look at the S&P 500 real quick. I don't know if there's even a point in doing this. S&P 500 is the 500 biggest companies by market cap in the United States. At least that's how I remember it. Maybe it's changed. Wow, looks like all-time highs to me. Okay, so all-time highs in my experience are the most difficult time to buy, right? Because this is kind of like the most bullish, the most noise in the system type thing. And so I am going to... What do I want to look at today? I want to look at something I think is interesting. I kind of don't want to. I own a little bit of this stuff, like almost, I don't even think I would have to mention it legally. I own a tiny microscopic amount of this stock that I'm about to mention because it's the most interesting thing to me right now, and I will talk about why. All right, Roblox. Here it is. Here's why Roblox is interesting. All right, first, before we go into the financials, which we will dig into because that's kind of my specialty. Let's talk about Roblox. 50% of U.S. teens under the age of 16 playing 16 playing Roblox. So this is one of those things that's like a cultural revolution that if we are not a part of it, you don't understand how big it is. So this is look at this article by The Verge. And you know, it's hard to gauge the truth of this stuff, but like let's just look at the Roblox ticker. What's Roblox ticker over the last year? What do we got here? 179%, right? Okay. But here's the thing. Its market cap is 92 billion, which like if you look at the biggest companies, just contextualizing how big 92 billion is. Market cap 500 biggest companies. I don't think this is going to reach like the top 100, maybe the top 200, maybe the top 500. I don't even know right now, right? These are market caps of 175 billion. So where does this place Roblox? This place is Roblox. What did it say it was? 92 billion. All right, we're going to get to 92 billion. All right, so this is going to make it like the, here we go, 222nd biggest company by market cap, which means it's not really going to get talked about very often. So this article came out about people, like half the kids in the half the kids. To put this into context, this is like how many people were on YouTube? And people were like, what's YouTube? Like, I don't know. Everyone was on YouTube of a certain generation. Like, there's certain apps everyone was just on. Facebook, maybe Instagram, maybe Snapchat. Which makes me think of Snapchat. How is Snapchat doing? I'm just curious. Snapchat's like a weird, like, I can't search it. Okay, I don't care anymore. So yeah, this is a movement. And so like when something stops being a company and starts being a movement, it's worth paying attention to. When you have young people that play a thing and don't stop playing it and continue to play it for years and years and years, that's worth paying attention to. So this is what I want to dig into more. I'm going to dig into it really quickly here. Because I don't know, just sort of quick reactions to stuff. Beta 1.62. So this basically means, and by the way, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this stuff. A lot of my knowledge is kind of old and I haven't exercised the muscle on some of this stuff in a while and I don't really use it. Like beta, I look at real quick. It's interesting, but it's not that interesting. This is how, does this mean it's measured 5-year monthly? That's what I'm wondering about this little. But beta is how, it's basically how much this moves with the market. So if the market went up $1, this would go up $1.62, or historically, right? If the market goes down $1, this would go down $1.62. That's the, yeah. Is that right? I'm like thinking percentages. I'm kind of tripping right now. Earnings per share. It has a negative earnings per share, which means this is what I would call a growth stock. I guess I don't know if there's official things, but so I'm going to look at the financials because all this other stuff is not interesting, right? I basically go to Yahoo Finance for the financials. And you can sort of get a quick look at what's going on, like how this company is shaped. And we're going to go to the balance sheet immediately because I want to know like what type of, like how are they thinking about themselves? How are they positioning themselves? Are they? So let's see, 2021, 2022, let's see. They're issuing more shares. I don't know, is this just employees? What's going on with that? This layout is interesting. I don't like, all right, total assets, current assets. All right, so their total assets, what is this? Let's see. I don't even remember what this was. At 30%. Oh yeah, chip. All right. Total assets. We'll do 7. 7 equals 7 over. No, we want 2.5 over 7, right? I'm just looking at their 2.4 over 7. 2.4 over 7. I'm looking at how much cash is as a percentage of their total assets. This is kind of going to speak to like. It's just one thing, but like it kind of speaks to how ready they are for an emergency. Why is this? Yeah, there we go. Ooh, cash as percentage of assets. There's probably some fancy finance term for that, like the something ratio. It's all these ratios, quick, sharp. I don't know if I remember any of them right now. Where's my... What was I doing? Where's my Roblox? Where's my Roblox? 33% to me is like, it just says something. If someone's holding 50% as cash assets, like that's different. So what's interesting to me is this is like 100%, I think is mostly a software company. So let's look at, I want to know non-current assets. That's interesting. Okay. It's just, also known as long-term assets, non-current assets. What's happening? I've been on Yahoo Finance in a minute. Okay. Net property, plant, and equipment. They got, what is this? Yeah, all right. Machinery. They own 0 in property, which I think is very interesting. So they do have construction in progress. I wonder if this is them building offices. That would be my guess. First guess. And all numbers are in thousands, right? So this is 46 million. So they're spending about 46 million on building something, and they're leasing some office space right now. So it's good to see they're doing that, right? Like if you have 0 property, like you need a space for your employees to like, if you're going to have any headquarters, you need a space to do that. So I won't say that's good, but that's something. It helps me understand the contemplating a little bit better, right? This says like, we are not going to be 100% remote. At least this is my, right, before looking into stuff, like this is my quick overview of this company. It speaks to the culture somewhat. So like, for example, let's look at Block. Where's Yahoo Finance? Block. There we go. Let's see what Block has for office space, because Block is like, apparently, I think it's a full remote company, right? So let's just look at the same thing real quick. Where is this thing? Wow, this is a lot more, right? This is more of what I'm used to seeing for stuff. Why is, because I'm in income statement, balance sheet. Total assets, non-current assets, net PPE, gross PPE, properties. Okay, see, check it out. Properties, 0. Leases, all right, maybe they lease some office spaces. Other properties, they have stuff. So they say full remote, but they have some places to go, I would imagine, unless they're just holding these, right, as like they own these properties and they rent them out to other people or something. But this is like, all right, we're getting too into the details here. Let's just look at total assets. Let's look at total assets and total debt. So total debt is 1.8. Total capitalization. All right, so the first formula, this is probably the biggest formula in finance, is assets equals equity plus debt. All right, so if total assets are 7, we're just gonna do 7. I'm just trying to get this quick to like, assets is 7. I'm trying to get a total capitalization. Does that mean equity? I think that means equity. I'm not going to look at that yet, but 1.2. Let's say it's 1. Let's go debt. Debt is 2. That doesn't make sense, right? We're missing something. What are we missing? I don't know what's going on. So this is like, to me, this is like a weird, let's look at Block real quick as a comparison. Cause I'm like, that should be incredibly obvious. And the fact that it's not, to me, either means I'm being silly right now or, so this makes, all right, 36 is the total assets. 27 is the total capitalization. And total debt is 8. Let's say it's 8. So 8 plus 27 is 35. So that's much closer. So like, I don't know what I'm missing here, what magic finance changed things, but like that's much closer to me than what this is. So that sort of stands out to me as like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with, is it Yahoo Finance? I don't know what's happening, but like, that is like, to me, you can look at Block and you can say like, okay, like, they're mostly equity, right? They have minimal, they have less debt than, say, I'm trying to think of a company that would have a lot of debt right now. But it's, it changes the way a company operates. The more debt that it has, the more leveraged it is, which means eh, it's just a different thing. So like even though I'll look at like Roblox as like a growth thing because I think it's interesting and like like it's how you approach these growth things. If you invest as like a value investor or whatever, like because the math is still math. But yeah, so all right, that's enough about individual companies. I'm wondering if there's anything else we need to cover today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know what you want to see in the next one, and please subscribe. Peace.